Hello and welcome to the Witches Tea Party. This is our 11th episode. Woo! Thank you for joining us. We're going to be joining with our co-host Ellen very soon, and we're going to pick a topic. We have 3 topics left. So when we did our very first episode, I just absolutely oh, here's Ellen. Here she is. Welcome, Ellen, to the show. Our 11th episode. Good morning.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
I can. How are you, my lovely?
I'm good, thanks, Goddess. How are you?
I'm so excited. I'm so pumped. And I looked at how many episodes we've done. And
Yay.
then our topics, we've just got 3 left. So I'm going to ask you, I've got number 1, 2, or 3 in front of me. You pick a number.
Oh, okay. We're doing a random number pull from the hat today.
Yep. Well, I've got them in front of me because there's only a couple left. So I thought, yeah, we'll just do it like a
Awesome.
magic
Okay.
trick.
Awesome. I love it. I feel like 3, 3 is like the trifecta, the divine.
Oh, it's the magic number. She went for 3. It's also my birthday number, so I always have 3. All right, you ready? Drum roll, please. Oh, you'll love this one.
What is
And
it?
okay, it's Motherhood and Babies.
Oh, that's so sweet.
And we both have babies similar age, I believe.
Yes. I think mine's coming up to 3.5, and yours is 3 and a bit, or 2.5. Yeah.
He is a 3-nager. Oh,
3-nager. I love that.
honestly, up and down, up and down. I'm like, he's even got he's got a little tiny spot on his cheek and a spot on his shoulder. I think he's had too much dairy, and I was like, he's getting spots already. But the biggest double-edged sword of my life. Like 1 minute I'm in that just joy and bliss and ecstasy at how amazing motherhood is, and the next minute I want to pull my hair out and sell him on the internet.
I know,
Joking,
it's so
wouldn't do that.
true. I know, I always
Never
say to
do that.
people, exactly. It's like I say to people, that saying where they're like, oh, if you think you're enlightened, go spend time with your family. And I think they should change that to like, if you think you're enlightened, go and have a child.
Have a baby, yeah. And do you know what's come up lately for me personally is there's a lot of guys, well, younger guys. This is it. When you're single, they all come out the woodwork, and they're younger guys who want to have babies, but there is such a misconception of what it's like to have children. And when you're an older woman who has got children, you kind of go, sweetheart, I just kind of said recently, I love the fact you want to be a dad. I think it's a beautiful thing. I would never want to, hold that back from your experience in life. But come live with me and my toddler first.
Yeah.
Before you want a baby. Just try it out first.
Exactly. Have a little bit of, I think it's like go and spend time with some other people's kids. It's a great contraception.
Yes. And I remember people going, oh, I dated this guy, and it's like, oh, I've got loads of nieces and nephews and they're fine. And you're like, it's just a play date. It is not the same.
It's
like,
so different. Yeah, definitely. Because one of my brothers, he actually had his first child when he was 17, and he's now got 4 children, and he's only just turned 30.
Wow.
And so he's kind of been the breeding rabbit of the family. And we sort of had dinner the other night, and he's up here on work at the moment, and and it's a lot of like, because him and his partner, because I think she was 18 or 19 when she got pregnant, and like they've stayed together, they're still together now with 4 kids, but it's a lot of pressure, and they've been through so much, and it's like you've got to grow up really quickly. Whereas I think from my perspective, I'm grateful. Like I did all my wild crazy shit in my 20s and early 30s, and then now, like, obviously having a child a bit later down the track, it's like I don't know, I feel like I was in more of a better, mature, stronger headspace for it, as opposed to, I don't think I would have coped very well if I was a teenager or in my early 20s. That's just my personal experience. But
I hear, sister. I remember same thing. Like I had friends, and I think there's a lot of peer pressure, fear of getting left behind. It's like, quick, we've got to get married and have a baby because all my other friends are doing it. And it's a really sad pressure to have on you. And you kind of think, I'm going to be left on the shelf, or it's never going to happen to me. And I'm the same as you. Like I did all my crazy wild shit, and I remember seeing, it's actually, I got engaged at 19, but never got married, thank God. I was saved. I do, because we were like, "You never got married." And I'm like, "No, been engaged 3 times. That was enough."
Yeah.
And yeah, and it's his friends. I remember his friends. They had a baby, and literally, I don't know, a few months after birth, she wanted to go out
Mm,
clubbing and taking ecstasy pills again. And I just
wow.
thought, of what? Like in my mind, I've always said that, like, as soon as I'm responsible for another person's life, a little human being, no more
Yeah.
smoking, no more recklessness, because you have to be there for them.
Yeah.
And they were, oh, I dread to, honestly, I don't want to be judgmental, but I dread to think where that family is at now. I'm
Oh,
thinking,
for
yeah,
sure.
because she never wanted to be a mum. It was just it's a thing that you do, and some people do it to keep, partnership together, which I think is so toxic. Uh,
Yeah.
keep a man, and you're like, I've come from the view, I've always said to someone, I would never want someone to stay with me out of obligation because I'm pregnant. Like, be with me because you
Absolutely.
want to be with me. What?
Exactly, exactly. And I think as well, there's a lot of this, it's a very old patriarchal perception as well that, and there's something that I'm feeling called to speak about as well, because if you're a woman as well who actually doesn't want to be a mother either, that's okay. Like there's this perception
Yes.
in our society, especially very patriarchal, that the woman's role, it's like that get married, picket white fence, fucking 4-bedroom, whatever home and have the kids and stuff. But that's not for everyone. And it's okay if you're a woman and you don't want to have children. It's like you're free to
Yeah.
do so. And if you're a mother, if you're someone that really wants children, that's great too. But there's nothing wrong with that. And I think a lot of women that actually don't want children feel a lot of pressure from society and community to, oh, you've got to have children. Or how old are you? Why haven't you had kids yet? Or why aren't you married yet? It's just like, I don't want to, and you don't have to.
Mm, mm. And I've always said, rather than having another baby, I just want animals now. Like, I just want to have so many cats and dogs, like,
Yeah.
so much unconditional love. And having a puppy is just the same as having a very, very similar to having a baby. It doesn't ruin my body. It doesn't ruin my body. I can handle it.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to do a big shout out, because we've been joined by Archangel NYNC. So welcome to the show.
Oh,
If there's any questions you'd like us to answer, we're talking about motherhood and babies. So feel free to go into the chat there. But
love
yeah,
that.
we just run with our conversation with what we're being called to. And I
Beautiful.
totally hear you. Like, there's so much pressure. Like, and I even remember my friends in England, as soon as they get married, and I actually did it once to my friends because I thought it was the done thing to do. And you go, so you got married. So when you're having kids? And they were
Yeah.
like, can we just enjoy getting married? Like, why do you have to jump onto the next phase?
I know. It's like, it was
And also,
actually
yeah, and also people who can't have kids, for lots of different
exactly.
reasons. Um,
Absolutely. Yeah.
what I'm going to put your question to you now. Pitch your question.
Hmm.
If you weren't biologically able to have children, because I've thought about this a lot,
Hmm.
would you have adopted or fostered, or would you have
No.
just accepted? No. No.
I'm gonna be really brutally honest, because and I speak about this quite openly with people, and I've actually probably
Mm,
offended mothers groups because I'm quite honest. I love my son. It's been an incredible experience. Like I actually remember the process of manifesting him. Like I actually had this desire in my early 30s, like I want to be a mother, and I
yeah.
manifested, and he came through, and he's been an amazing, incredible experience, and he teaches me every friggin' day, especially patience and tolerance. But
Mm,
for me personally, I realized I'm in a lot of ways, I love my own space, my own creativity, and the freedom that kind of comes with that. So if he hadn't come along, I don't, yeah, I never felt the desire or the interest, to be honest, with that side of things. So, yeah, it's interesting. And I think just quickly as well, that book that you sent me, Conversations with God, has been
hmm.
such an amazing. So thank you so much for that. That book, I've been
Yay!
meaning
That's
to
the
read that
least
for
I could do to say
ages, and
thanks.
I was literally reading a chapter in there last night, and he was talking about that how the householder, becoming a parent is actually one of the most challenging spiritual paths because it will trigger you, it activate you, it will make your soul grow exponentially on so many levels. And he says, whereas if you're just solo and you're on your own, you've got all day to meditate and be all love and light and
Yeah.
bliss. But once you're a parent, that's a very challenging spiritual path to take. And it was just so nice to read that because I think, before my son, I realized I was actually a very self-absorbed, selfish, immature woman. And
Mm,
since having my son, he's given a depth to me that I didn't know existed, and a sense of maturity and a different outlook and a sense of power, like goddess power. I can't explain it. And I remember women saying to me, the massage therapist, she was saying she noticed women before they had a baby They were quite, insecure or not really sure. But after they had a baby, she goes, fuck
Mm.
me. They were like, don't fuck with me. It's like mama bear. You got
Yes.
boundaries. You don't put up with shit. It changes you on so many levels. And so
Yeah.
for that, I would never, ever change anything in the world. Like I'd have my son a million times over for sure. But before him, I never thought about or desired adopting or fostering or yeah, I'm not a mothery mother, if that makes sense. Some women are just like, I
Ooh.
love children, I just want to be a
Yeah.
mother. That's like my sister-in-law, but yeah, that's not me. So yeah.
It's yeah, it's funny because I've always wanted to be a mum since I was about 16.
Beautiful.
Very, very young, but it's weird, like, because my mum always said, thank you, God bless her soul, um, do everything you want to do first. Have your career, travel the world, see everything you want to see. Do that first because they tie you down, and like just physically, it's harder to travel. And I know you
Mm.
can, but especially when they're very, very young, you just want access, immediate access to running water, a washing machine,
Yes.
and your bed.
Yeah.
That's all we can think about. Even going to a
Exactly.
cafe, I was like, am I going to make it to the cafe without breaking down in tears and walk back home again? Will I cope with
Yeah.
that? But
Mm.
yeah, I totally resonate with everything you said. And I said, look, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But
Yeah.
I've always felt like there was a hole in my life, like there was something missing. And then when he
Mm.
came along, it was like it completed me. And I just straight away went to a different zone. It was like, I'm here. Like the whole of Amanda is now here. And
Yeah.
it gave me the confidence to protect my baby, to leave a really abusive relationship.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting. It's like he saved me. It's like I would put up with being mistreated myself, but as soon
Mm.
as he was born into this life, it was like, no, I have to protect him. But I see
Yeah.
so much of my soul within him. I don't know if you get that with your son. Like I look at
Mm.
him, it's like I'm looking back at myself sometimes, or like he really sees me,
Mhm.
like no one's ever looked at me before.
Yeah,
It's
they're
very
unconditional
magical.
love. They're still in that realm of it's just joyfulness, creativity, just unconditional love. Like I've had days where I've been an absolute like cranky bitch, and he just comes up to me and he hugs me and he's like, "I love you, mum," and then you're just like,
Yes.
oh, and yeah, and they teach you like I remember once I took him to a meeting and he just sat there bubbling with joy. And one of the men in this meeting, he was like in obviously a very negative headspace, and he said, "Thank you so much for bringing your son today because I just looked at him." And he just reminded me of my own innocent nature. He's just sitting there, just joyfully smiling. There's at nothing and he's just happy, like he's just here now, and he
Mm,
reminded me to be present and just be happy, it's all good. And I was like, oh, that's really lovely message, and I think
mm.
babies, that's why people are magnetized to babies, because they're like fresh out of the realm of unconditional love. It's
Oh,
like,
and they
oh, give me
smell
some of those
that
vibes.
little, yeah, that little. It is nobody can put their finger on it. The newborn baby smell. Everyone wants to smell them. I
Yeah.
think it's pure like aura. It's you can't we
Yes.
can't. It has no scent. It's just it's like smelling a rose. It's like when you actually, I studied this a little bit with aromatherapy. You're actually breathing those particles into your being. So unfortunately, if you smell poo or sewage, you've got little tiny particles in there. But yeah, I wanted to just re-emphasize your point as well about kind of being present. I think this is what the way that the world is leaning towards. I don't know
Mm.
if you found it when you were pregnant, is there are a lot of mums who are older now, waiting to have children. So we are being a more fulfilled human being and looking at our shit and dealing with our shit before
Yes.
we enter parenthood. And then we are having less children. So in a way, it's kind of we're addressing the overpopulation of the world, but
Mm.
also I see the difference between people who sort of they look tired and drained because they've got kids. It's like, oh, they're the kids. There's 3 or 4 kids we're getting away from. Whereas when you parent one, maybe two children, you're so present with them and you've got more time and patience with them being older and you
Mm.
appreciate them. It's a different space and there's a different appreciation and understanding. And then they grow up differently because they're not fighting for attention or
Mm.
affection, they're getting all of it. So then they're becoming more centered and more present and more, they don't have competition. I actually played a little bit of a mind game on my son the other day, and I said, what would you, because he, with being a teenager, everything has to be his own way. And I said, what would you do if you had to share mummy with a baby? I thought, oh, I just couldn't play devil's advocate here. And I said, what if you had a baby brother or sister? And he was like, what? And I was like, yeah, can you imagine if you had to share mummy? Like you wouldn't get all this attention. And I could see his little brain work, and he was like, oh, is mum gonna have a baby? Like, what did she say? What did she say? What is she telling me? But yeah, it was like, look, you get my undivided freaking attention most of the time, and you don't know how awesome your mum really is. Like I'm doing a little crazy dance, and he watches me like, what is she doing right now? Because you're living in a busy household, and I'm not degrading a busy household, because in my imaginary world I've always wanted 5 kids and a big happy household. But in today's society, where women are being forced into careers and forced back to work more, kids are chucked in daycare, like it's I think it's not the Waltons, do you know what I mean?
Mm.
That we'd all love to picture. um People are just shitty and arguing, and there's lots of shouting in households, and everyone's just pissed off not having their own space. So actually, if we all follow this model of looking deep within ourselves, going along that spiritual path earlier, yes, being totally selfish and self-centered for good reason, so that when we enter motherhood and parenthood, it's like, I'm so ready. Like, I tried saying this to a male friend of mine, and it's like, it's not that I didn't want to bond with you, it's just that you're at this different stage in life. I don't want to go to a pool party, I don't want to go out drinking, I want to stay with my son. And that's what I get off on. I love staying in and have an early night reading books with him, like, because he can't understand that that gives you more joy than going out and partying.
Yeah, but it's
Um,
a different. I guess it's different phases. Is that my voice coming through, or is that
yeah,
because I'm just getting feedback at this end? I sound like Darth Vader at my end.
no,
It's really weird. It's like I'm getting this like deep breathing, like this. Oh, so I'm just making sure the microphone's all good on my
well,
end.
when I'm recording this, whenever you're on live, it always sounds perfect, and then if I do a playback, then
Mm.
I can tell the difference whether yeah. So it
Yeah,
depends if
bless.
you're too close to your microphone.
Well, I've got the muffler on, and I've got it about half a meter away. So
Ah, maybe
yeah.
you're just Darth Vader today. This is just your
Maybe I'm
realm.
Darth Vader. Yeah. Darth Vader mama. Yeah, cool. So I think yeah, going back to obviously, yeah, all of that. So I guess yeah, it's like different stages of your life. And yeah, I definitely find that as well. Like the part of me that wanted to go out wild, partying, drinking, and having a wild time, it's like, yeah, it just doesn't interest you anymore. And it's like you've been there, done that, and it's just a new different phase. And I think sometimes we can feel this pressure that as mothers, we have to be constantly go, 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 do, be there for everyone. And it's like, well, you don't actually. It's just a belief system. And if something doesn't light you up or feel good or joyful, you don't have to do it. Like it's, you get to stay in with your children and just be present with them and enjoy their company. Like you're not obligated to try and be all these things to everyone else. Because I think that's sometimes the trap we get into creating these busy, 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 busy lives is thinking that we have to be busy, we have to be making this, we have to be doing that in order to be successful, in order to have this. And we forget the most basic, it's the simple things in life that really matter. And it's just, like you said, it's about just being present and fully present with your child. Like turn the phone off, turn the distractions off. And even if you just spend half an hour, an hour with your child, just being fully present with them will make such a big difference in your relationship with them and in your life, basically. Because I see a lot now, especially with modern technology, you go out to places now, and I've seen whole families that are just sitting on their devices, babies, 8-month-old babies with their own fucking
Yeah,
device. And I'm just like, no one's
makes me
talking to
angry.
each other. And
Mm.
I just go, there's going to be a whole generation, and it's already happening now, the generation that's come after our generation, because we were in the generation where technology only just really started to come through. So we'd actually spent probably the first, 2.5 decades without that kind of stuff.
Mm.
And then now this generation has been born into it. And I
Mm.
think, they're now running boot camps on teaching kids how to actually take pictures of other things other than themselves and how to actually talk to people because they don't have any communication skills. And, and I think it's just, yeah, taking that distraction away and just being present. That's all it is. Your child just desires your presence, you being there and seeing them and having time with them and enjoying their company.
Yeah, there's so much to be said for that connection, isn't it? And I've been so mindful of that lately. It's like those boundaries of, okay, you're going to respect me. This is mummy's time, and then I'm going to do some playing with you. And then I see his eyes light up where I say, "Can we do some playing now? Like, can we play with the cards?" And he's like, "Oh yeah!" And this came from this really good thing I read or saw somewhere that said, and this is to think about, your future relationship with your children is
Mm,
make sure you spend time going into their world when they're young, because when they're older, you want to make sure that you stay in their world. Does that make sense? It's like, if you're too busy for them now, they're just going to always learn, well, there's no point. Not going to go to mum for comfort because she works all the time.
yeah.
And that's a very tricky sort of boundary to set, because we do have to work as well. And um, but yeah, because you think, in their adult life, say, he grows up, starts doing drugs, I want him to come to me and be open and tell me everything so that I can help him and say, okay, there's no judgment, you're doing drugs. What drugs are you doing? Let's make sure you do them as safely as you possibly can. What's the reason for doing them? Like,
Mm,
keep that communication open, because that's when they usually wander off, because they're like, well, mum's too busy for me. So and then I've seen a lot of my male friends, they'd never want to worry their mum. Whereas you keep them close, keep them very, very close, and it's like, doesn't matter what you do. And oh my gosh, so yesterday my son, out of nowhere, he just said, "Oh, I think we were having dinner," and he said, "Do you like me, mum?" And I was like, "Oh my God!" I was like, "Yes, I like you. I love you." I said, "Nothing would ever,
mhm,
ever, ever change that." And I said, "I'll do anything for you,
mhm.
anything." And yeah, it's just his little mind,
That's
I was
sweet.
like, yeah.
I
Um,
think as well, especially because we're bringing up boys, and I think if also because like
mm,
Amanda and I, obviously both single mums bringing up boys, and there's a really great book that is actually really well written called Raising Boys, and I can't remember his name. He's an Australian psychologist, but one of the things, like I actually was really blessed. I had a male nurse who was my home nurse when Rowan was just born, and he actually was talking to me about it's important, especially if you're bringing up a male, they do need very healthy, strong male figures in their
mm,
life, because there will actually come a point, and it's even like when you read the book Raising Boys. I don't know if you've read that book, Amanda. Have you read that one yet?
nope, nope.
Oh, okay, cool. I'll send it to you because it's really, really great. But he talks
Mhm,
about in our culture, in our conditioning, in our history, boys generally between the ages of about 11, 12 to about 15 in tribes all around the world would actually leave their mother for 2 to 3 years and go and just be with the men. And that was their
mhm,
initiation into manhood. And he said, what's happened now? And so that energy then was then put into productive, skillful things, and the boy became a man. Whereas in today's culture, the boys, a lot of young boys do not have that transition. They do not have that healthy, strong male role figure or that father figure. And so they can kind of go off the rails or go, off the tangent and put their energy then into not very healthy, productive things. And so it was really interesting that one of the male nurse that I was initially helping me with my son when he was born, he said to me, just as long as you even just have one healthy male role model, whether it's an uncle, a friend, or, someone in your family that they can just give that really positive, healthy male role model to, and it creates a space for them to connect with another male, especially if you're a single mum bringing up boys. It will
mm,
make the world of difference, because I mean, probably like yourself as well, like, because we've both been, single mums that went through traumatic, abusive relationships. And it's just, you get to that point where you're like, I'm not having that in my son's life or in my space. Like, it has to be healthy, good men, and setting those healthy
mm.
boundaries. And I think moving forward, and it's heartbreak as well, because the father of your child, is not healthy and is a complete nut job. And then it breaks your heart because you're like,
Yeah.
I'd love for my child to have a father. And it's getting to the point now, I don't know where he's seen it on YouTube Kids or at daycare, but every night now he's like, Mummy, I want my daddy, I want my brother, I want my sister. And I'm just thinking, and then the other day he said to me, Mummy, I want a son. I'm just going, I've got to monitor what the fuck he's
Oh,
watching, because I've just got like,
get
where
a
is this
cat.
coming
Get a cat.
from?
There you go, have a cat.
Yeah,
That's
here's
what
a
my mum
dog.
did. Best role model
Oh.
ever. Yeah, no, I totally hear you. And role models all in life. And I remember, especially with COVID and we were in lockdown, is that integration. I was like, this is another idea. This is a very pagan idea. Rather than going through a baptism, I wanted a God. a God family for my son. And this was the whole idea, but we couldn't because of freaking lockdown. I've got lots of friends in Sydney and then lots of people here in the Newcastle area. So what I wanted to do is actually bring them together. So I've got godparents. There was about 6 people, like couples or single people, to then have a pagan ceremony where he's in the middle, and it's kind of like a name giving ceremony as well. It's called.
Mhm.
So it's like recognizing he is Leo, he is in this world, and recognizing that he's supported by this whole group of people. So he can go to any one of them, and they will support him throughout his whole life.
That's so
And
lovely. I love
yeah,
that.
it's actually called something. I looked it up, and I thought I'd just like change the words to suit it. But yeah, rather than being baptized in a church where most babies cry and go, why I'm in this cold church, because it's very, very English, very English. I'm in a cold church with some strange man priest holding me with putting water on my forehead. Like, what the hell's going on? And because because Leah was a toddler as well, or just becoming a toddler, it
Mhm.
just made more sense. And yeah, so
Beautiful.
sort of having those as the role models. Well, look, we promised we would wrap this up and keep it a quick show today. But we do have 2 more topics to go, and then I don't know if you want to take a break or whether we just sort of channel what we want to speak on, because that's always interesting, impromptu conversation.
Mhm.
Is there anything else you'd love to talk about motherhood and babies?
No, I think that's all good. Yeah, I think I've said what I wanted to say. Is there anything else you want to say?
Just the import. It's my paganness coming through now, and it blends in with religion. Is I wish there was more recognition or a ceremony that recognizes the phases of motherhood or
Mm.
womanhood specifically. So and I deal with a lot of pregnant ladies in massage, is it's like, being able to grieve that role as being a woman, that sorry, that phase of our life. We don't just stop
Mm.
being a woman, but the phase of our life of before we have that responsibility, and then a celebration of motherhood. And like, wow, like I remember when I gave birth, it was literally like some energy gateway opened inside of me, like literally
Mm.
transformed me. And I think that's a lot to do with sorry if my brain's going really fast now. A lot to do with postnatal depression is that those stages are not recognized. It's kind of like you're in this busy corporate career, then you have a baby and you're expected to carry on, and none of that's recognized, that transition. So if we actually grieved it, said goodbye to that as a process, and then celebrated the new phase of womanhood, and that we learned from our elders, like we probably would in ancient times, that you're going to become more powerful now. You're going to stand, you'll do anything for that baby. You're going to be fierce. You're going to be a warrior woman. It's like, awesome. And then that prepares us, and we're supported for that. Into that sort of next phase. And then before also there's another grieving phase where our kids grow up and leave home, which is a proper grieving phase we need to recognize. And then again into our crowing phase when we're menopausal and we can no longer physically have babies. So yeah, like I wish that was more celebrated and recognized
I think
within.
that's what kind of our work is, Amanda, is to bring that through because it's desperately needed. Like women need that. It's like the transition from, yeah, like you said, the
Yeah,
maiden, the mother, the crone.
yeah.
And we even have that cycle each month as well in our moon cycle, and it's to honor, yeah, who we are as women, and we're cyclic by nature. We're creators, we're creatrixes, we're birthers of life. And I think under, yeah, it's breaking and shaking now, like the breakdown of the patriarchal construct, so that the feminine, the women can come through and stand in their power, and and it's healing those deep, deep wounds of the feminine.
Mm,
Yeah. Yeah, motherhood,
beautiful.
big one.
Oh, it's so nice to connect with you as a mum. Like it's so like I think if one of us wasn't a mum, it'd be more difficult to connect. It's funny. It's like a different
Yeah,
language.
it
Um,
is. It's a
yeah,
different energy.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I definitely would have adopted or fostered. As
Beautiful.
hard as it is, I know a foster mummy. She's got like 5 kids,
Wow.
and if she has babies, when she breaks her heart giving them back. She's like, I can't do babies anymore. But
Mm.
you know what? That was Home and Away, because I used to watch Home and Away. I used to watch Pippa with the foster
Oh,
kids.
lovely. Love it.
That was why I was like, I'd foster kids. I'd be like Angelina Jolie and have like 20 of them. I'd be like, yeah,
I
keep them
love
coming. But you know what? Got a goddamn nanny to help her.
it. I know. Just quickly on that, I'll just quickly before we close up the show was I actually had this lady recently ask me. She said, "Oh, so do you think you'd have any more children?" And I said, "If I was to have any more children, I would have the most amazing." Awesome
Yeah,
husband. I would have this beautiful divine home. I would have a nanny. I would have a cleaner. I'd have a chef.
yeah,
I would have, I would have the fucking my own private driver. I said, because that is what I now require. That is my standard if I'm having any more
yeah,
children, because I am not doing solo mama ever
yes,
again unsupported. It
yes,
is one of the most hardest, stressful things. I was like, no. She's like,
yeah.
geez, you got standards, woman.
No, but I think it's very natural. It's that community of women coming back to again, of being a nanny, of having a nanny, having another woman to help you, just
Yes.
being on call. And yeah, I
Yeah.
was I was wiping down my doors and cleaning my skirting boards, fun times.
Mm.
And I thought, fuck this shit. I'm gonna hire a cleaner to specifically just do my oven, my skirting boards, and
Yes.
cleaning my wooden doors. I'm like, do you know what? That's your job for the day, okay? Because I hate that shit. I have enough wiping
Exactly.
my son's ass every 5 seconds. That's enough for me to do.
Exactly, exactly.
Jesus.
I actually found out too late. I don't know if you had one of these for your process, but I didn't know that. You know how they have death doulas? They have not only birth doulas, but they also have after birth doulas that live and stay and help you out for like several weeks or several months, however long you need them. And they
Mm.
literally come to your house, they cook, they clean for you, they take care of the baby
Oh,
so you can have some sleep. And I was like, oh, why did I not know about these baby doulas?
this should
Because I would
be
have
this should
hired one.
be a bloody government, national health
Yes,
funded scheme. Because the thing is, there's too
absolutely.
many of us that are left on our houses alone, and we have no
Mhm.
other family.
Yes.
Yeah, totally. Right, we've got to wrap things up because I promised you half an hour.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, gorgeous Ellen.
Thank you,
And
goddess.
well done to all the mamas out there. And if you're not a mama, there are so many gifts in the world. You never have to feel any pressure or judgment from anybody. Your life is your life. And it's hard enough just being a woman. Let's face it. Big it up for all the women in the house. Full stop.
I love
Right,
it.
we'll catch
Thanks,
you in a
gorgeous.
couple of weeks' time. Mwah.
Yay. Lots
God
of love.
bless.
Bye for now.
Bye.